teleconference as authorized by the executive order of the governor. The webcast is available for members of the public to listen to the meeting. We welcome those who are listening to the meeting via webcast. I would like to ask everyone to mute their phone, please, and when you're not speaking, to minimize background noise. Also, please identify yourself when speaking and making a motion. For voting, we will call each person's name for the vote so we can accurately record the voting. Before we begin with the participants in today's meeting, I would like to welcome our new director, Doreen Harris, who is President and CEO of NYSERDA. Ms. Harris is filling the vacancy resulting from the resignation of Alicia Barton when she accepted a new job out of state. So welcome to the board. I will now do a roll call of the participants in today's meeting, beginning with the directors. Michael Abbott.
Present.
Christine Chung. Present. Michael Frame.
Present.
Doreen Harris.
Present.
Franklin Hecht.
Present.
Dr. Meng-Ling Shao.
Present.
Brad Johnson.
Present.
Joan McDonald.
Present.
And Kenneth Tompkins.
Present.
I will now do a roll call of our member designees, starting with Kevin Nunes, the Chief Operating Officer of Empire State Development, and he is the designee of the Chief Executive Officer of Empire State Development.
Hey, good afternoon. Present.
Hi, Kevin. And Todd Larson, Senior Vice Chancellor and Provost of the State University of New York, who is the designee of the Chancellor of the State University of New York.
Present.
I will now do a roll call of the officers who are participating in the meeting, starting with Dr. Douglas Gross.
Present.
Patricia Arciero-Craig.
Present.
Paul Kelly.
Present.
Scott Bateman.
Present.
Timothy Taylor. And Patricia Buckland.
Present.
Thank you. I will now ask the directors if anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items in today's agenda. If you do, please make an appropriate disclosure on the record now and recuse yourself from any discussions or votes with regard to that item. Hearing none, I would like to request approval of the meeting, of the minutes. So this is, I need a motion to approve the minutes of NY Creates meeting from September 30th, 2020.
So moved by Meng-Ling Shao.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Joan McDonald, second.
Thank you. Are there any corrections? Great. So I'll now ask each director for their vote. Michael Abbott.
Aye.
Christine Chung.
Aye.
Michael Frame.
Aye.
Doreen Harris.
Aye.
Franklin Hecht.
Aye.
Dr. Meng-Ling Shao.
Aye.
Brad Johnson.
Aye.
Joan McDonald.
Aye.
Kenneth Tompkins.
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. I would now like to introduce Michael Abbott, Chair of the Audit Committee, for the Audit Committee reports.
Thank you, Chair Stamakia. You have before you resolution number 3, appointment to the Audit Committee. I'd like to ask for a motion to consider and adopt resolution number 3, appointing Doreen Harris to the Audit Committee.
Joan McDonald, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. A second, please.
Ken Tompkins, I'll second.
Thank you. Pursuant to resolution number 1, dated December 18th, 2019, the Board of New York creates established an audit committee of New York Creates consisting of 5 board directors, one of which was Alicia Barton, who was appointed to the New York Creates Board by the SUNY Polytechnic Institute Foundation upon the recommendation of Empire State Development. Ms. Barton resigned from the New York Creates Board effective June 26, 2020, thereby creating a vacancy on the audit committee. Given the current composition of the audit committee, such vacancy must be filled with a board director appointed by SUNY Polytechnic Institute Foundation, Incorporated. On October 29, 2020, Doreen Harris was appointed to the New York Creates Board by the SUNY Polytechnic Institute Foundation upon the recommendation of Empire State Development to fill the vacancy created by Ms. Barton's resignation. As such, and given the experience and qualifications of Ms. Harris, it would be suitable and appropriate for Ms. Harris to be appointed to the Audit Committee. As stated in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting, the bylaw of Fuller Road Corporation and Fort Schuyler Management Corporation provide that the committees of FRMC and FSMC and the size of each are equal to the committees of the members, that is New York Creates, and each director of New York Creates serving on a committee of New York Creates shall be deemed to have been appointed to a committee member of the corresponding committee of FRMC and FSMC. The Audit Committee approved a resolution recommending that the board appoint Doreen Harris to the Audit Committee. I'd like to, the requested action today is to approve resolution number 3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will ask each director for the vote on the motion. Christine?
Aye.
Thank you. Michael?
Aye.
Franklin?
Aye.
Dr. Mengling?
Aye.
Brad? Brad Johnson?
Sorry.
Joan?
Aye.
Thank you. Joan?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Bagat?
Aye.
And Ken Tompkins?
Aye.
I also vote in the affirmative. Therefore, the ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Thank you. Second item is resolution number 4, appointment of a compliance officer. I'd like to ask, I'd like to ask for a motion to consider and adopt resolution number 4, appointing a compliance officer.
Mengling Zhao, so move.
Thank you.
Brad
May I have
Johnson.
a second, please?
Brad Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you. The bylaws of FRMC, FSMC, and New York Creates authorize the Board of Directors to appoint officers of the respective corporations and fix a salary based upon the recommendation of the Audit Committee. The bylaws of FRMC and FSMC provide that the officers of the member, that is New York Creates, shall serve ex officio as the officers of each corporation in the same office that such individual holds with the member. On December 18th, 2019, the Board of New York Creates, pursuant to resolution number 1, appointed individuals to serve as President, Chief Administrative Officer and Acting General Counsel, Treasurer, Secretary, Chief Operating Officer, and Chief Financial Officer of New York Creates, and delegated the determination and establishment of the compensation for such individuals to the Audit Committee. No individual was appointed to the position of compliance officer pursuant to resolution number 1. Following an extensive outreach effort, the selection committee interviewed several candidates for the position of compliance officer and has recommended Jamie Cody to serve as compliance officer. New York Creates now seeks to appoint Mr. Cody to the position and to have the determination and establishment of the compensation for the compliance officer delegated to the Audit Committee. The Audit Committee recommended that the board appoint Jamie Cody to the position of compliance officer. So today, the requested action is to approve resolution number 4. Is there any discussion of the matter? Okay. Hearing none, I will ask each director for the vote on the motion. Christine?
Aye.
Michael Frame,
Aye.
Doreen,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Joan,
Aye.
Dr. Bagat,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins.
Aye.
I also vote in the affirmative. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Thank you. The third item involves insurance renewals. I'd like to ask for a motion to consider and adopt a resolution approving and authorizing insurance renewals. Could I have a motion, please?
This is Joan. I'll put the motion on.
Thank you. A second, please.
Franklin, I'll second.
Thank you. New York Creates seeks to renew its insurance coverage for directors and officers liability and entity liabilities, employment practices liability, and crime for the period for the period commencing on December 18th, 2020 and expiring on July 31st, 2021, the date when the corporation's other lines of insurance expire. New York Creates is a first name insurance insured under the policies, which also includes FRMC and FSMC as named insurers. New York Creates insurance broker, Amsure, conducted a comprehensive outreach process and prepared a proposed renewal package. Amsure is an independent risk management and insurance advisory firm that represents over 20 different insurance carriers. A summary of the proposed program is in the materials provided to the Board of Directors in advance of the meeting. Amsure advises that the combination of historical claims payments, rising litigation cost, COVID, and the overall economic downturn have driven increases in rates for the corporations. However, Amsure also advises that these increases are significantly lower than increases impacting the not-for-profit corporate market generally for similar insurance during the past 6 to 9 months. The Audit Committee approved a resolution described in the memorandum provided to the Board in advance of the meeting and recommended that the Board approve the same actions. So the action requested today is to approve a resolution, 1, approving and authorizing the insurance renewals as described in the summary, 2, approving and authorizing the President and Treasurer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation to execute, acknowledge, and deliver the aforesaid insurance renewals with such changes, variations, omissions, and insertions as the officer of the corporation signing the same shall approve. The execution thereof by such officer to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval. And 3, approving and authorizing the President and Treasurer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation, to take such actions as are necessary and appropriate, including the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of other documents and agreements as may be necessary to appropriate to implement and carry out the purposes and intents of the resolution. Is there any discussion of this matter? Okay. I would now like to ask each director for the vote on the motion. Christine?
Aye.
Thank you. Michael?
Aye.
Thank you. Doreen?
Aye.
Franklin?
Aye.
Dr. Mengling?
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Dr. Bagat?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Thank you. And I also vote in the affirmative. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Thank you. Chairman Samakia, that concludes the Audit Committee issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. So I would like to now introduce Michael Frame, who is going to present on behalf of Kristen Proud, the Chair of the Finance Committee, as she was unable to attend today. Mike?
Thank you, Bagat. So the first thing on the agenda is a lease for Upstate Electrical LLC. I would ask for a motion to consider and approve the lease with Upstate Electric LLC.
Christine
Motion,
Chung, so
Ken.
moved.
Oops, sorry, I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you. So Upstate Electric LLC is a company that specializes in electrical construction and maintenance that supports work in the clean rooms and other areas on the Albany Nanotech campus. It seeks to lease 421 square feet of office space in Cestum for 2 years. Rent is $22 a square foot, which includes operating expenses and utilities. Rent will increase annually by 2%. The proposed lease represents a small fraction of the total building. Therefore, an appraisal of fair market value of the asset is not practical. Staff has determined that the lease meets fair market value based on other existing leases in the building. The Finance Committee approved the resolution describing the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting, including recommending that the board approve the same action. Therefore, the requested action is to approve a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease with Upstate Electric LLC on the terms stated above, approving and authorizing the president and treasurer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation to execute, acknowledge, and deliver the aforesaid lease with such changes, variations, omissions, and insertions as the officer of the corporation signing same shall approve, the execution thereof by such officer to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval. And 3, approving and authorizing the president and treasurer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation to take such actions as are necessary and appropriate, including the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of other documents and agreements as may be necessary or appropriate to implement and carry out the purposes and intents of the resolution. Is there any other discussion? Okay, if not, I will now ask each director for their vote on the motion. Michael Abbott,
Aye.
Christine Chung,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Franklin Hecht,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Tsao,
Aye.
Brad Johnson,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Dr. Bhagat Samakia,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The second thing for your consideration is a lease with the Research Foundation of the State University of New York. I'll ask for a motion to consider and approve a lease with the Research Foundation.
So moved by Mengling Xiao.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second, Franklin.
Thank you, Franklin. As background, the Research Foundation currently leases approximately 140,000 square feet of space in NanoFab extension and seeks to lease an additional 608 square feet of unfinished space in the building. Rent is $10 per annum. The Research Foundation will pay operating expenses and utilities. The RF plans to give a license to Applied Materials Incorporated to use the space as part of the 7-year New York State Applied Materials Partnership to grow the Materials Engineering Technology Accelerator, known as the Meta Center. Applied Materials will fit up the space and equip it with a tool that the RF will also use. The proposed lease is for space in the subfab area of the building that is currently being used for storage. Given the location and size of the space, as well as its limited marketability, the proposed fit-up costs to be paid by Applied Materials are estimated to significantly exceed the fair value of rent that could have been charged for such space. The proposed improvements will become the property of FRMC and stay with the building upon the termination of the lease. Accordingly, FRMC believes that the value being received meets or exceeds the fair market value for such space. However, out of an abundance of caution, FRMC followed the procedures applicable to below market transfers in FRMC's acquisition and disposition of real property policy as set forth in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting. The Finance Committee approved the resolution describing the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting, including recommending that the board approve the same actions. The requested action: to approve a resolution 1, approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease with the RF on the terms stated above. 2, approving and authorizing the president and treasurer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation to execute, acknowledge, and deliver the aforesaid lease with such changes, variations, omissions, and assertions as the officer of the corporation signing same shall approve the execution thereof by such officer to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval. And 3, approving and authorizing the president and treasurer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation to take such actions as are necessary and appropriate, including the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of other documents and agreements as may be necessary or appropriate to implement and carry out the purposes and intents of the resolution. Is there any discussion? All right. At this time, I will ask each director for their vote on the motion. Michael Abbott?
Aye.
Christine Chung?
Aye.
Doreen Harris?
Aye.
Franklin Hecht?
Aye.
Dr. Mengling South?
Aye.
Brad Johnson?
Aye.
Joan McDonald?
Aye.
Dr. Bhagat Samakia?
Aye.
Ken Tompkins?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The next lease on our agenda is MCD Metals, LLC. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to consider and approve a lease amendment with the MCD Metals, LLC.
Christine Chung, so moved.
Thank you, Christine. May I have a second?
Franklin will second.
Thank you, Franklin. MCD Metals, a ductwork fabrication shop, has leased 525 square feet of space in NanoFab East since 2017. Its lease expired on October 31st, 2020, and it seeks a 1-year extension of the lease. The tenant will pay $31.84 per square foot, which is a 2% increase from the previous year, plus parking fees. The rent includes operating expenses and utilities. The proposed lease represents a small fraction of the total building. Therefore, an appraisal of the fair market value of the asset is not practical. Staff has determined the lease meets fair market value based on other existing leases on the Albany Nanotech campus. The Finance Committee approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting, including recommending that the board approve the same actions. The requested action: approve a resolution, 1, approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into an amendment to the lease with MCD Metals, LLC on the terms stated above. 2, approving and authorizing the president and treasurer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation to execute, acknowledge, and deliver the aforesaid amendment with such changes, variations, omissions, and insertions as the officer of the corporation signing same shall approve the execution thereof by such officer to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval. And 3, approving and authorizing the president and treasurer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation to take such actions as are necessary and appropriate, including the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of other documents and agreements as may be necessary or appropriate to implement and carry out the purposes and intent of the resolution. Is there any discussion? Okay, at this time I will ask each director for their vote on the motion. Michael Abbott?
Aye.
Christine Chung?
Aye.
Doreen Harris?
Aye.
Franklin Hecht?
Aye.
Dr. Mengling South?
Aye.
Brad Johnson?
Aye.
Joan McDonald?
Aye.
Dr. Bhagat Samakia?
Aye.
Ken Tompkins?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The last lease is the lease of loaders for snow removal. I'll ask for a motion to consider, approve, and ratify a lease of the loaders.
I'll make the motion, Franklin.
Thank you, Franklin. May I have a second?
Ken, I'll second.
Thank you, Ken. Fuller Road Management Corporation sought to lease 2 loaders for year-round use, including snow removal, to replace old equipment that needed frequent repairs. Following a procurement conducted in accordance with FRMC's procurement policy guidelines, FRMC entered into a lease agreement with Capital Tractor Incorporated for 2 loaders for a term of 3 years with an option to purchase the equipment. FRMC received a credit of $30,000 for a trade-in of used equipment. The agreement requires a monthly payment of $2,428.40. To ensure that FRMC receives the loaders in time to be prepared for the snow season, like today, FRMC entered into the lease agreement in November and now seeks ratification and approval of the agreement. The Finance Committee approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting, including recommending that the board approve the same actions. The requested action: to approve and ratify FRMC's execution of the lease of the loaders and all acts of any officers of the corporation that were taken or made with respect to the lease of the loaders, and approve, authorize, and empower the president and treasurer, and each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation, to take such actions, other actions as are necessary and appropriate, including the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of other agreements or documents as may be necessary or appropriate to implement and carry out the purposes and intents of this resolution. Is there any discussion? Okay, at this time, I will now ask each director for their vote on the motion. Michael Abbott,
Aye.
Christine Chung,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Franklin Hecht,
Aye.
Dr. Meng-Ling Tsao,
Aye.
Brad Johnson,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Dr. Bhagat Samakia,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. The ayes have it and the motion is adopted. That's all that we have for the Finance Committee. Thank you,
Thank you, Mike.
Chairman Samakia.
Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to ask if anyone has any new business to be considered today. Hearing none, I'd like to comment that given the change in meeting logistics, we notified the public of the opportunity to send in comments via email to the meeting. We did not receive any comments. We will schedule the next meeting and notify you in due time. And I would like to now ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion, Franklin.
Thank
Mike
you.
Frame, I'll second.
Thanks, Mike. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and I hope everyone drives safely and takes care with the snowstorm.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.